Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my media feed. Here is my merchandise. We rolled out new merchandise last month, and we are going to roll out new merchandise before the month is out with. Here is our new logo, part of our rebrand. And here is my profile so that you will know it is me. Here's my profile. And since this is the last couple of days of the regular season for the NBA before we start getting to the play-in tournament, I'm not going to give as much dialogue or analyzation about these games because many of the players are resting up for the playoffs. Well, the starters for most of these teams are resting up for the playoffs, but I am going to go down the scores list and how everything is pretty much setting up to be. And I'm going to be giving you all a playoff picture with every team that I covered in today's segment. So for the Miami Heat, Andrew Wiggins, 5 points. Bam Adebayo, 24 points. Davion Mitchell, 15 points. Tyler Hero, 15 points. Pelly Larson, 10 points. Bench production for the Miami Heat. Myron Gardner, 2 points. Keyshawn Johnson, 6 points. Jamie Jaquez Jr., 15 points. Vlaston Golden, 0 points. Kyle Ware, 7 points. Norman Powell, 7 points. Trevor Neals, 6 points. Jameer Young, 2 points. Karaspis Jaconis, 0 points. Toronto Raptors, Brandon Ingram, 38 points. RJ Barrett, 22 points. Scotty Barnes, 13 points. Jacoby Paletti, 6 points. Emmanuel Quickly, 11 points. Bench production for the Raptors. Sandro Mashulevi, 5 points. Jamison Battle, 1 point. Colin Murray Boyles, 17 points. Jonathan Magobo, 0 points. AJ Lawson, 0 points. Jamal Sheed, 8 points. Jacoby Walter, 7 points. Elijah Martin, 0 points. Grady Dick, 0 points. Garrett Temple did not play because of coach's decision. Now I'm going to look at the playoff picture and give you all an updated playoff picture because there was some movement that happened last night and it's not updated with the playoff picture right now, but I'm just going to now we get to what is happening right now as far as what's going on in the East. Now, with the Toronto Raptors and the Atlanta Hawks, mainly both of those seeds in those spots, they pretty much flipped last night. Atlanta is in the 6th currently, and Toronto Raptors, they're in the 5th spot. Now, Toronto Raptors, they hold the tiebreaker over the Atlanta Hawks. So, if in the next 72 hours, if the bracket stays like this, then Atlanta will be facing New York and Toronto will be facing Cleveland. So, and then we get to the last 3 teams. Well, in the play-in tournament, we get to Orlando, Philadelphia, Charlotte. Charlotte, they need to win out and hope that Orlando and the 76ers lose one of their remaining 2 games to become the 7th seed and and have home court advantage while playing the Miami Heat. Now, that can happen, but there's so many other things that can happen. You could the Philadelphia 76ers, they can win out and have one of those two teams lose. Now, they can have one of those two teams lose. Now, one thing about the Orlando Magic, they've been up and down all season. We expected the Orlando Magic to be to be in the top 6 of the Eastern Conference, but late season runs by the Atlanta Hawks and mainly by the Toronto Raptors have pretty much put them in the type of predicament they are in. But that's not to say that they won't have something to say in the playoffs, whoever they play, because we all know that the Orlando Magic, they are a rough and tugged team led by Pablo Banchero. And I believe even though the Magic, they probably won't win a playoff series, I can pretty much book them for one win in a 7-game series. You can pretty much book them for one win in a 7-game series. But outside of that, I'm going to get back to the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors, young team. Can the Raptors beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 7-game series? Maybe, but I don't think that that's going to happen because I think Cleveland is a better team. I think Cleveland is a better team. And last night, we all know that Miami is. I was looking at a source just last night, and they were saying that Miami is NBA purgatory. They've made it to the play-in tournament the last 4 years, including this year. So you're not going. We don't expect much from the Miami Heat, but for them to get into the play-in tournament consistently, it just shows how good of a coach that Eric Spoelstra is. And he has been the head coach for the Miami Heat for almost a good 20 years. Almost, I can say that. And he has won 3 championships. And Miami, they are not going to fire Eric Spoelstra because he's basically, in the last, I would say, 16 years, Eric Spoelstra has been the face of Heat culture along with Pat Riley. Now, we always say Pat Riley is the godfather of championships when it comes to the NBA. Now, if there was a list where I had to put championships as far as executives and head coaches, I would put players and coaches. I would put Bill Russell, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, and Red Auerbach. Now, a lot of people in today's time, they don't know who Red Auerbach is, but Red Auerbach was the general manager for the Celtics back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He stayed with the Celtics for 35 years, making them a perennial contender every season that he was there. And that leads to my next game, the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. Now, we already know, I've said so much about the New York Knicks throughout the regular season. Congratulations on their win last night. But the Boston Celtics are the best team in the East, no matter what. And I know that there are people up in Detroit that are saying, what about us? But that's the one question. What about you? What about you is going to make everybody think that, okay, well, Detroit has a better chance than the Boston Celtics to get to the NBA Finals? We haven't seen, outside of last year, we haven't seen Detroit in the playoffs consistently. Now, Cade Cunningham has came back from his collapsed lung. Thank God for that. He has came back. I don't think that he is going to, he's not all the way 100%. If I had to give a percentage on it right now, he's about 75 to about 80% healthy. But you rather take that than for him not to play during the playoffs. Now, when it comes to the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum, 24 points. Sam Hauser, 6 points. Namas Quetcha, 10 points. Derek White, 8 points. Jordan Walsh, 5 points. Nikola Vucevic, bench production for the Celtics. Nikola Vucevic, 10 points. Peyton Pritchard, 23 points. Baylor Sherman, 20 points. For the New York Knicks, and it is basically the same exact thing that I've been saying when it comes to the New York Knicks. Their starting five, they really can't get any rest during the games because everybody on the New York Knicks starting five, and I looked this up and it is true. Everybody, every person that has, well, every player that is on the New York Knicks starting five, their average playing time is 32 minutes. And it's not that hard to comprehend because OG Anunoby played 36 minutes last night. Karl Anthony Towns, 30 minutes. Josh Hart, 35 minutes. He had 26 points, which was a huge plus because he's just a defensive specialist. Mikal Bridges, 10 points. Jalen Brunson, 25 points. Bench production for the New York Knicks. Mitchell Robinson, 7 points. Jordan Clarkson, 8 points. Landry Shamet, 3 points. Miles McBride, 4 points. Now, when it comes to the New York Knicks, I got to say that the New York Knicks, they are a little iffy. Now, their projected playoff matchup is the Atlanta Hawks right now. Now, do I think that the Knicks should be the clear-cut favorite in that playoff series? No, because we don't know what New York team is going to show up. And the Atlanta Hawks, in their past 30 games, they've won 22 of their previous 30 games. So you got the Atlanta Hawks coming into the playoffs on a heater, and you got the New York Knicks that have had cold stretches throughout the season. Back in October, they lost 10 out of 12 games. And then it seems like in that middle part of the season, they could only generate wins against teams that were below 500. And now you see the last couple of weeks of the season, they have beaten the top tier upper echelon teams. So we really don't know what team in New York with the New York Knicks we are going to see. Efficient wise, last night it was pretty much it was pretty much like a seesaw. Momentum was with the Celtics for about maybe a good quarter and a half. Then the momentum was with the Knicks, and then in those last 2 or 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, it got down to just schematics and shot selection. As you all can see, the final 5 minutes of the game, and one thing, the Celtics last 5 minutes of the game, they had the game won, but the New York Knicks, they had the momentum. See, this is the difference between a team that can have a team like the Boston Celtics, they can have the lead, but then there could be one team, the other team could have the momentum. Now, Celtics, everything, it was tied right here. The Celtics, we all know that they had the lead in this game, but they didn't have the momentum. Even there, when they made the three, they didn't have the momentum. New York had the momentum, but they needed to make a shot. There's Josh Hart's two of his 23 right there. Defensively last night, New York Knicks had a great defensive unit in their last 5 minutes. And as you can see right here, that was pretty much good night, Irene, what Josh Hart did. Celtics, they couldn't get a three-point shot. They couldn't make a three-point shot. And Jalen Brunson, he had the finishing touches on this game. Josh Hart made a three. That was 3 of his 23 points. and the New York Knicks found a way to win a tight, close-knit game between the Boston Celtics. They had a tough time doing that earlier on in the season, but the New York Knicks, it seems like they are finally getting to that point where they are starting to build some momentum going into the playoffs. And let's see how they fare against the Atlanta Hawks going into their first round playoff series. The next game I'm going to cover is the Philadelphia 76ers and the Houston Rockets. Now, I want to say something. When it comes to the Western Conference, every team is set. Every team is set in the playoff bracket for the Western Conference. We already know that Denver is playing the Nuggets. Denver is playing Minnesota. The Lakers, they have home court advantage. They are playing the Houston Rockets. The Oklahoma City Thunder will either be playing the Phoenix Suns or the LA Clippers, and the San Antonio Spurs will be playing either the Portland Trail Blazers or the Golden State Warriors. So that is the finality of the Western Conference playoff bracket. For the East, it's only down to 5 teams left. Everybody else has punched their ticket to either the play-in tournament or the playoffs. When it comes to Toronto, Atlanta, Orlando, Philadelphia, and Charlotte, it's all about playoff positioning with those 5 teams. Now, all of the teams, they're going to go to the playoffs by default. It's just who are they going to face in the play-in tournament and in the first round series. That's all. Now, the top 4 teams in the East and top 4 teams in the West are already solidified. Now, we are going to go to what the 76ers and the Houston Rockets did last night. Paul George, 7 points. Adem Bona, 2 points. Kelly Oubre Jr., 16 points. Tyrese Maxey, 23 points. VJ Edgecombe, 21 points. Jabari Walker. Bench production for the 76ers. Jabari Walker, 2 points. Justin Edwards, 4 points. Dominique Barlow, 2 points. Andre Drummond, 5 points. Quentin Grimes, 20 points. Now, for the Houston Rockets, led by Kevin Durant, obviously we already know that is a factor right there when we look at it. Kevin Durant, 29 points. Jabari Smith, 19 points. Alfred Sengun, 8 points. Josh Okogie, 9 points. Amen Thompson, 19 points. Terrion Eason, 15 points. Clint Capella, 1 point. Aaron Holiday, 7 points. Reed Shepard, 6 points. When we get to team efficiency, the Rockets and the 76ers they were just hand in hand last night. As you can see, 3-point shooting and shooting percentage from the floor was pretty much the same. Turnovers were pretty much the same. Fast break points, didn't have many fast break points, but they were pretty much the same. Points in the paint, +4 for the Rockets. And the largest lead of this game for the Rockets was 28. Largest lead of this game for the 76ers was 2. Now, one thing that I did, and this is true, Joel Embiid is injured, abdominal. I believe it's a ligament with around the abdomen area, and he is listed. He is listed week to week, and this is the wrong time to be injured going into the playoffs. So, and we all know that Joel Embiid, he has had pretty much a great deal of injuries throughout his 10-year career in the NBA already. So let's see what the 76ers can do without Joel Embiid. And let's see if Embiid can come back for either Game 3 or Game 4. That's if That's if the 76ers win in the play-in tournament. Because if the 76ers lose in the play-in tournament, then they out. They out, and Joel Embiid can start rehabbing and getting ready for October, because that's when the new season starts for the NBA. So the 76, and one last thing about the 76ers before I give my finality for this particular game. The 76ers, I hate to say it, but the 76ers, they need to start building towards the future without Joel Embiid. Now, that's not to say that he is not an integral part of the 76ers, but it's just with his injury history, you got to have some insurance, another backup center, or you could possibly bring in two backup centers. That way you can always have a defensive presence while Joel Embiid is not on the floor, and you won't have to worry about allowing teams to give up so many points in the paint. Now, last night, the Rockets, they only had 14 points. But there have been moments and instances in this game, in the regular season for the 76ers, where their opponents have scored 55, 60 points in the paint. If you have Joel Embiid in there, or somebody with the same size as Joel Embiid, the 76ers would not be allowing so many points in the paint. But that's just me, and I'm just a spectator of the sport. But if I was the coach, I would request my general manager of the 76ers, can you go get us another center? Or if you can you get us two centers? Because we don't know how Joel Embiid is going to be feeling once he comes back, and we don't want to rush him back. That's another thing that you have to take into consideration, because Joel Embiid is getting older. He's getting older. He's in his late 20s now, and within 3 years he will be in his early 30s. And he has had 12 instances in his career where he has been out. And there was one season where he was out for the entirety of the season, and he came back the following season. So the 76ers, they're going to have to make some tough decisions sooner or later on Joel Embiid's health long term, and what can they do in the short term to combat his health dilemmas when it comes to him being injured for the majority of the season. But that's all I got to say about the 76ers. The Houston Rockets, what can I say about the Houston Rockets? The main thing is, what are they going to do in tight games when the playoffs come? Now, I can already see in the playoff series versus the Lakers, every game in that series is going to be tight no matter what. And I want to see how do the Rockets fare in a close-knit situation and a tight game. I want to see that, because you already know that by default, Kevin Durant gives the Rockets more playoff experience than any of those other players on the roster combined. So the young guys that are on the Rockets, they have playoff experience because they went there last year. But outside of last year, that is where Kevin Durant comes in. But I don't think the Rockets are going to get past the second round. And when we look at it, it's debatable whether the Rockets get past the Lakers in the first round, So Rockets, they have issues and a bunch of questions. The 76ers have issues and a bunch of questions. So let's see if both of these teams, let's see how they fare. Let's see how the 76ers fare in the play-in tournament. And let's see how the Rockets fare against the Lakers. Now, I'm going to show you all some highlights from last night's game. when it comes to the Rockets and the 76ers. And basically, it's been the same thing throughout the entirety of the season. Now, both of these teams, they have had injuries throughout the entirety of the season. I believe even for the Rockets, Kevin Durant, he had, I think, a sore knee for a couple of those games back in January, but he was able to fight through it. A sore knee, sore ankle. We all know that, hey, by this time of the year, everybody is injured. No matter what sport you're playing, by the end of the regular season in any sport, in any league, you got some injuries. No matter what, you got injuries. So all in all, this was a very, very, I wouldn't necessarily say entertaining game, because the Rockets, they should have had the Rockets should have blew out the 76ers by at least 30. Because if you already had a 28-point lead, why let your opponent creep back into it, get it all the way down to an 8-point deficit, and make them think that they have a chance to come back? But the Rockets, they don't really focus on defense, so you really can't say, you really can't be surprised, because the Rockets, they have given up those type of runs before. The next game I'm going to cover, and the last game, is the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Now, like I said, the Golden State Warriors, let's see what can they make it out of the play-in tournament. That's all I want to know. Can they make it out of the play-in tournament? Because we already see where the Lakers, they the top four. They the fourth seed in the Western Conference, so they got home court. They gonna be good. Get everybody rested up and get everybody ready for the playoffs if you are the Lakers. LeBron James last night, 26 points, 11 assists. He had a double-double last night. Rui Hachimura, 12 points. Jake LaRivia, 16 points. DeAndre Ayton, 21 points. We need more from DeAndre Ayton if you are a Lakers fan and if you are a spectator in the NBA. We need DeAndre Ayton to have games like this. He can score 20 to 25 points, but can he do that on a nightly basis? Because that is going to be needed throughout the playoffs. In the first round, it's going to be needed in the first round. Luke Kennard, 14 points. And then the Lakers, they emptied out their bench last night. Max Kleber, 0 points. Jared Vanderbilt, 2 points. Drew Timme, 4 points. Dalton Knecht or Dothario, 0 points. Nick Smith Jr., 12 points. Kobe Buffkin, 2 points. Bronny James, 10 points. Chris Manson did not play because of coach's decision. For the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green, DeAnthony Melton, 2 points each. Nate Williams, Brandon Podziemski, 17 points each. Pat Spencer, 12 points each. Pat Spencer, bench production for the Warriors. Mevy Levins, Charles Basley, 12 points each. Seth Curry, 11 points. Gary Payton, second, 10 points. LJ Cryer, 8 points. Guy Santos did not play. Right pelvic contusion. Will Richard did not play. Low back strain. Now, one thing I can say about the Warriors and the Lakers, two teams that are pretty much in the same boat, but when it comes to record-wise, the Lakers are, I'm not going to say that the Lakers are further along than the Warriors, because Lakers, they still got to defend. I mean, and it's like every game, now every tight game that the Lakers have had this season, majority of them, they win by one bucket, whether it's a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer. But they have never had, and even the Lakers, when they win their games in blowouts. Now, last night, this game, it wasn't a blowout because it was relatively competitive for a while there. But 27, but the largest lead for the Lakers, it was a 27-point lead, and largest lead for the Warriors was 4-point lead. Now, one thing I can say is that the Warriors without Steph Curry, you could pretty much go ahead and book them a first round exit. That's if they make it to the playoffs. The play-in tournament, it ain't looking all that great because if Steph Curry can't go, I believe Portland Trail Blazers will be able to defeat the Warriors. But we got about a good 72 hours before we exactly know who will be playing each other in the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference, and we already know who's going to be playing each other in the Western Conference. So, Lakers, let me get back to the Lakers. Now, should I go ahead and say I'm going to wait until the playoffs, to the playoff schedule is finally set before I start giving my Laker predictions when it comes to the Lakers playing the Rockets? But as of last night, this was I'm gonna say that this was a good win, for their playoff positioning, because now currently they have home court over the Rockets since they beat the Rockets 2 out of 3 times this season. And I'm gonna just go ahead and let everybody see the highlights, see some of the highlights for the Lakers and Golden State Warriors. And as you all can see, when it comes to the second quarter, the Lakers, they had the momentum and they had the lead. But when it came to the third quarter, they were up by 27. Up by 27 at one point, like I said earlier. But we all know that the Warriors, they like to chip away at those leads like that. But we all know second half, the Lakers, they took over. There go DeAndre Ayton. We need more of that when it comes to the playoffs. There go LeBron with the chase down block. But when it comes to Gary Payton II, he put it back in. Luke Kennard, Jake LaRivia come down the floor. DeAndre Ayton, 2 of his 21 right there. Rui Hachimura, he had a good game. There's 2 of his 12 right there. And see, this is the kind of Lakers basketball that is needed to be played in the playoffs on a consistent basis. That is, if the Lakers want to make it to, dare I say, the Western Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. Dare I say. Because that is exactly what you need right there. That's exactly what you need. But one last thing that I can say is that the NBA playoffs are around the corner, people. So place your bets accordingly. So now let's get to the updated playoff picture bracket. Now, we pretty much know with just 2 games left in the season who everybody is going to be playing. So I'm not going to give any of my predictions for the playoffs, but when it comes to the play-in tournament, there's so much that can still happen in the play-in tournament bracket for the East. So I really can't say who is going to win over who in the East, but I can most certainly talk about the West. Now, the West, I believe, without the Warriors having Steph Curry, give me the Trailblazers. I'm going to just go ahead and say that. And since it is Friday, come Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to go back over this again. So everybody who sees this, you're not going to miss anything because I'm going to give my play-in tournament predictions early next week too. But for now, Trailblazers, I got the Trailblazers over Warriors, and the Phoenix Suns and Clippers. This is a good matchup. This is a tough matchup because Both of these teams, regardless of their record, they play the same brand of basketball, and both of them started out cold in the earlier point of the regular season. Clippers started off the season after 27 games, 6-21, and the Suns, they started out after 23 games, 10-13. So I'm gonna have to come back to that matchup because there's a lot of things and there are a lot of matchups that needs to be mentioned before I make my prediction. And plus, like I said, in 4 days the play-in tournament starts from April 14th to April 17th. The playoffs start next Saturday, people. Not tomorrow, but next Saturday. So we are going to have a lot of hypotheticals to talk about, a lot of playoff scenarios to talk about over the next 3-4 days. And by the end of next week, we will know who is playing who. We will know what the top two teams in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, we all know who they will be playing. So with that, those are my reactions to last night's Thursday night slate of NBA games. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Here is my media feed. Here is my merchandise. And here's the new merchandise that we got out from that we rolled out last month. Here is our new logo. And remember, everybody, one last thing. The Key is on time. See you all Monday morning, bright and early at 9 a.m. Please, everybody, be successful in whatever you want to do. Be passionate about what you want to do. And that is some encouragement for everybody out there. And this is Keytime Sports, Key City Sports, and the Key telling everybody, I want everybody to do great things. See you all Monday. And remember, the Key is always on time.